Hemodialysis uses the principles of diffusion and ultrafiltration to remove the body's wastes and excess fluid from the blood. This supplements the function of the patient's kidneys. Before the treatment begins, 2 needles are placed, one to pull blood out and one to return the blood. The blood tubing and dialyzer is filled with clear, normal saline. Once the patient is connected, a pump draws blood from the arterial line in the patient to the primary component of the dialysis machine, the dialyzer. At the same time the blood is drawn to the dialyzer, the machine also pumps in dialysate, a solution consisting of treated water, acid, and bicarbonate. This solution also enters the dialyzer but never comes into direct contact with the blood. In the dialyzer, the blood flows down 10,000 tiny hollow fibers which are bathed in dialysate. The walls of the fibers are semi-permeable and allow small particles, such as the waste products urea and creatinine, and electrolytes like potassium, to pass from the blood to the surrounding dialysate. Larger molecules, such as proteins and red blood cells, are too big to pass through the fiber's walls. The movement of these small molecules from their high concentration in the blood to a low concentration in the dialysate is known as diffusion. The difference between these concentrations is known as the concentration gradient, and it determines the amount of particle movement from the blood to the dialysate. Because no waste byproducts are originally in the dialysate, waste byproducts quickly diffuse out of the blood and into the dialysate. The amount of electrolytes drawn out of the blood can be controlled by increasing or decreasing the amount of electrolytes in the dialysate. Less of an electrolyte in the dialysate will increase the concentration gradient and thus increase diffusion of the electrolyte out of the blood. More of an electrolyte in the dialysate will decrease its diffusion. The efficiency of diffusion is further enhanced by countercurrent flow in the dialyzer, where the dialysate flows in the opposite direction as the blood. Many patients with kidney failure retain excess fluid. Because water is also a small molecule, it can easily pass through the walls of the dialyzer fibers. The volume of fluid drawn from the patient is controlled by ultrafiltration, the process of using pressure to move fluid across the membrane. Before the start of each treatment, a teammate sets the dialysis machine to remove a specific amount of fluid. This programs the ultrafiltration pump to remove this volume from the patient's blood over the course of the treatment and bring the patient to a more normal weight. When the cleaned blood leaves the dialyzer, it flows through the venous tube, passing through its drip chamber and a safety device called an air detector. From there, the blood passes through the patient's venous needle and flows back into the patient's own bloodstream. Depending on the doctor's order, about 3 cups of dialysate and 2 cups of blood enter the dialyzer each minute. During one 4-hour hemodialysis treatment, the patient's entire blood volume passes through the dialyzer about 15 times. During this process, extra fluid and unwanted wastes are removed from the blood.